killed 5 people and injured 25.
Yeah, terrible news because only 5 people died, according to Ben Shapiro. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, terrible news this weekend. Only 5 gay people died. So tragic that my words and the things that I want happened, but not to the degree that I wanted it to happen.
5 at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs, Colorado. According to the Washington Post, at least 5 people were killed, 25 were injured after a man with a rifle walked into an LGBTQ nightclub here and opened fire, according to law enforcement officials who credited 1 or more clubgoers with subduing the shooter before more people were hurt. The FBI is assisting with the investigation, which officials said is in its early stages. As of Sunday morning, local and federal officials were trying to piece together details about the attack, including what may have led the gunman to the club, the suspect's criminal history, and how the shooter came to possess the weapon the officials say was used in the attack. Charges will probably include first-degree murder, of course, because it is apparently first-degree murder. Around 11:57 p.m. Saturday, police received a call about a shooting at Club Q on North Academy Boulevard. Lieutenant Pamela Castro, a spokesperson for the Colorado Springs Police, told reporters. Colorado Springs Mayor John Suthers said the first officer arrived on the scene within 3 minutes after being dispatched. The suspect was subdued within 2 minutes after that. One person inside the club just before midnight, a person named Joshua Thurman, told the Post that people were dancing as shots began to ring out. We heard the music and then we heard pop, 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 pop. That was it. So I kept on dancing, said Thurman. When I heard another set of shots go off, that's when it clicked in my mind. And that's when I immediately took off and ran for cover. A patron did tackle the gunman inside the club and prevented him from killing more people. So obviously heroic action by somebody who was there to prevent more murder. Nick Greshka is one of the club's co-owners. He said that he and his co-owner had reviewed surveillance video that showed the gunman entering the building and immediately beginning to fire. He says, I don't even know the names of the people who held him down. What they
This is a New York Times article that we just read. I wonder if Ben will cover the part where the cops arrest the guy.
Did is incredible. Club Q, which is the name of the club, did have an active shooter protocol, which Greshka's co-owner, Matthew Haynes, had said followed to the letter. The 2 owners arrived at the scene minutes after the shooting and gave surveillance camera footage to the investigators. So this immediately raised questions as to who exactly the shooter was. Apparently, the shooter is a 22-year-old with a, as you would guess, serious history of violent imprecations. A person with the same name, address, and date of birth as the suspect was arrested in June 2021 and charged in connection with making a bomb threat in the Lorson Ranch community, a suburb of modest single-family homes on the southeastern outskirts of Colorado Springs in El Paso County, according to a sheriff's office report at the time. A woman had called the sheriff's office to say that her son was threatening to hurt her with a homemade bomb and other weapons. According to the report, after a nearly 1-hour standoff, the shooter, or a person with the same name, surrendered without incident.
Here's the thing, like, if there's a lot of these, like, violent, mentally ill people running around, don't you think it's better off to, like, make sure that they don't get guns? Because, like, Ben and every Republican loves to turn this around and make it seem like this is just, like, mental illness, okay? Like, this is just totally, like, a unique instance, right? But, like, the violence is directional. So don't you feel, like, even a little bit fucking guilty that you're, like, directing the most psychotic people towards gay people in this way? No, of course not. They don't care. They want more of it. So obviously that's the case. Ben is not going to openly state that in the same way that Matt Walsh will, obviously, but Ben hires Matt Walsh. Ben likes Matt Walsh. Ben talks about gay shit with Matt Walsh.
No bomb was found, according to the sheriff's office. So once again, we have the specter of a probably insane person committing a mass murder. The question is how this person got his hands on weaponry.
It's like, bro, everyone is fucking insane, dog. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, bro. By the very definition, like, yeah, if you're doing a mass shooting, like, you're an insane person. You're not normal. You're doing something that is abnormal, okay? Like, it's not an argument. Like, I hate when people say that. It's like, yeah, no shit, dude. Wow, that's crazy. You mean to tell me that a guy who fucking shot 5 people is not, you know, the picture definition of mental sanity and mental clarity? That's crazy, man. Like, it's literally an insane thing to do, okay? I'm a pretty fucking mentally ill guy, okay? I don't run around ever thinking, like, maybe I should shoot something up, okay? You gotta be extra fucked up. It's not a fucking argument. It's not anything. You're just literally pointing to something that is unusual. There has never been an instance where people were like, look at this incredibly sane guy who did a mass shooting. This totally sane guy killed fucking 40 people. Like, that's not a thing. This well-adjusted, totally sane guy who paid his taxes, okay, turned around, grabbed the fucking AR-15 and killed 20 people. That's not a thing. Fuck. And if you recognize that, if you understand that, which we all do, then maybe, there are things that we should be pushing for that make it so that when someone fucking snaps, okay, they are not directed towards a marginalized community like a fucking gay bar because they've watched too much Ben Shapiro broadcast. Or when they fucking snap, they do not have an AR-15 and a fucking pistol that they can easily access after they have been arrested for kidnapping charges a year prior. America is such a fucked nation that when I say something that is so obvious that like 99.999% of the fucking planet would be like, what? Wait, what? This guy got arrested because mom fucking called the cops saying that he had a homemade bomb. The cops arrested him last year for kidnapping charges, and those charges were then hidden, and that he was able to have a gun. What is going on here? That's crazy. Because it is crazy. It's crazy. And all these fucking dickheads, all that they do on the right, okay, all they do is try to like stop you from thinking about how insane that is. While they simultaneously, make you go, oh yeah, you should kill more gay people, by the way. Like, let's give you some reasons as to why, like making gay people seem like they're fucking groomer pedophiles.
Why this person wasn't under psychiatric evaluation. This person was known to law enforcement, is what we are learning. This person had threatened his own family. Again, this is a common thread among mass shooters, is that they threaten members of their own family. This happened, obviously, at Sandy Hook. This happened also in Parkland.
Common thread. Ben Shapiro saying this is literally like the same energy as like a common thread among mass shooters is that they have guns and they use them. And they're unafraid to use said guns in a violent way. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we should do something about it.
The pattern here, obviously, is person with significant violent tendencies known to law enforcement who has threatened members of his own family. That's a good place to start when you're looking.
You want to know another common thread among like at least mass shooters in America? Watching Ben Shapiro for some fucking weird reason. Not even just America, North America, like the Quebec mosque shooter who was literally a Ben Shapiro fan.
For trying to screen out possible shooters. Now, this has not prevented the entire political and media left from immediately determining that what this was probably a conservative Christian who just randomly decided to get up from a church and go murder a bunch of gay people at a gay club. This is the line that is being taken by every member of the left, which is, if you oppose same-sex marriage, or if you don't like Drag Queen Story Hour, or if you think that children should not be indoctrinated into radical gender ideology or into the alternative life.
He's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I agree with everything that the shooter most likely agreed to, okay? But also, like, you should still let me say these things because I don't have an AR-15. I'm not shooting up a fucking, gay club. This guy is. Well, he did after watching my videos. But also, like, I think it's totally normal to have these kinds of feelings towards gay people. Just don't act out on them. You could act out on them, actually. You could act out on them, but, you'll be called crazy. But, it's just... Like, Ben is a pussy, okay? So, of course, the only kind of violence that he advocates for is institutionalized violence that is already seen as the norm. Like, he would be perfectly willing and able to advocate for, like, any sort of laws that would lock up gay people. If you think that, like, this motherfucker wouldn't be, on board with that, I don't know what to tell you, because he already does that. Black people and black existence is criminalized in this country. Poverty is criminalized in this country. Ben Shapiro absolutely is in favor of that kind of institutional violence because that is not seen as violence at all. That's actually seen as just the normal way of business because the state has a monopoly on violence. So he's too much of a coward to be like, take matters into your own hands, to say that. So, but as long as the state's doing it, then he's going to be like, yeah, there's no problem with that. Actually, the state should do more of that. That's how he does it. That's how he justifies police brutality. That's how he justifies American imperialism. It's state violence, institutional violence that he is on board with and demands more of from the state government. He does not want it. He will not openly state that like people should take matters in their own hands, but he basically just leaves that hanging up there. You know what I mean?
Lifestyle ideology that suggests that all forms of sexual activity are equally meritorious. That if you're a person who believes, in other words, in traditional social values, this means that you bear responsibility for a whack job murdering gay people at a nightclub. This is the going line today. President Biden said in a statement Sunday, although the motive is not yet clear, we know gun violence has a particular impact on LGBTQI plus communities across our nation, which is a weird statement because the truth is that LGBTQI plus people are traditionally not as gun owning as, for example, more.
Dude. He's literally basically like, here's the thing. I want to ask Ben Shapiro, like, I want to ask him, like, so what do you want to do with gay people? You don't want them to adopt children because you lie and say they're worse parents than, like, a man and a woman, which is false. There's empirical evidence to show you're completely wrong on that because your feelings on the matter are the reason why you say that. You don't want them attending like sporting events and shit. You know, if they're trans, like they can't fucking play soccer or attend swim meets and shit like that, even though they are a fraction, just a minuscule percentage of the population. Okay. You don't want them using like bathrooms and shit. You know, you freak out about that. You talk about that. You are also on board with, the drag queen laws or whatever that fucking Texas is trying to put together, which would actively make it so that, being trans in public is criminalized because of the way that people understand it. And you could definitely expand on that and say being queer in public is criminalized. This will also, of course, impact cis men and women as well, who, much like Ben Shapiro, do not fall in the gender norms, right? I mean, Ben Shapiro has a feminine voice and barely can grow facial hair. He tried it, didn't fucking work out, and is 5'4", the height that is below the average male height. So, he can't grow body hair. How are we supposed to know if he's not a trans person in the vicinity of children in public? We don't know. Maybe he'll go to fucking jail. Of course, he doesn't think he will. But anyway, regardless, my point is that he is on board with criminalizing the existence of queer and queer-presenting people in public, around children. He is totally on board with stopping them from being fucking teachers and shit. He doesn't want there to be any mention of queerness or gay people in shows, television shows that, children watch, shows that adults watch. He doesn't want gender affirming surgery. So, like, what do you want? You just want trans people to, like, shut the fuck up and, like, kill themselves in a corner. That's what Ben Shapiro wants. So he's taking the long way there, but he's basically doing and advocating the same thing. Okay? That's it. But he's too much of a pussy to say it out loud. Matt Walsh, less of a pussy, still a fucking gigantic piece of shit. But, Ben just wants them to shut the fuck up and kill themselves quietly in a corner. Okay? Matt Walsh is like, we need to speed up the process.
Or traditionally minded Americans. But, okay, says we must address this public health epidemic of gun violence in all forms. We must drive out the inequities that contribute to violence against LGBTQI plus people. I don't even know what that means. The inequities that contribute to violence against LG, like what? We're gonna give tax rebates to people, and this is somehow going to prevent insane mass shooters from murdering.
What? No, you fucking idiot. Inequities like not allowing them to. You have advocated for businesses to literally stop serving gay and trans people if they choose to wish to not serve them. Okay, like what do you mean? What are you talking about? That is systemic inequality that you want. Because you're too big of a pussy to just like outright say it. Like I don't think any business should serve gay and trans people. You're not saying that. So instead, you're saying like the government should make it so that people that don't want to fucking serve gay and trans people can discriminate against them. You say it all the time, Ben. That's a thing that you believe. Okay, that's a thing that you legitimately believe that you have advocated for. One time, Ben also famously said the Civil Rights Act was the Voting Rights Act, bad idea. That the civil rights movement should not have created, should not have compelled businesses to not be discriminatory, and that money should have been the main factor that forces businesses to be non-discriminatory, by the way, for the record, even though he fucking despises when businesses that do have moneyed interests in tapping into like black markets or tapping into other marginalized markets like a trans market, the queer market, actually make moves to diversify their portfolio of content, then Ben loses his fucking mind. So basically, it's just about what he wants. He just wants businesses to represent his values and nothing else.
For trying to screen out possible shooters. Now, this has not prevented the entire political and media left from immediately lying today.
We talked about all this. Sorry,
I was against LG. Like what? We're gonna give gay and lesbian people at a nightclub? But this is the line. The line that is going here is that if you really wish to prevent violence against gay clubs, this means you have to support every element of the progressive agenda, or you are complicit. And this is a game that only gets played by one side of the political aisle. Again and again and again, we see in public life, when there is a threat against a person of the right, when there is an attack by a member of a left-wing organization or an intersectional identity associated with the left against someone else, that we don't tie that to a broader ideology. We don't attempt to suggest that it's the fault of everyone.
One, because the amount of like left-wing terror is marginal and ultimately insignificant, okay? It's nothing. It's like someone being sneezed on in comparison to fucking the overwhelming sea of right-wing, anti-government, white supremacist domestic terror, which is the overwhelming amount of domestic terror and terror in general that happens in the United States of America, okay? That's it. That's the problem. That's the issue. Like, broader left-wing ideology is literally Medicare for all, okay? Expanding benefits and entitlements. Like, that's it. Broader right-wing ideology, or the most important parts of right-wing ideology, are literally murdering trans people. You already dominate the political sphere. So, of course, you look for new things to come across like unique. You look for new avenues to conquer. That's why you get increasingly more unhinged. That's why you constantly fucking talk about trans people. That's the issue.
Who has general beliefs in a broader social system. Instead, we say, well, that's an individual and he believes an extreme thing, and that person ought to be ostracized.
I need examples, man. He's gonna fucking say the congressional shooting, like the baseball shooting, and the guy was apparently like a Bernie Sanders. The guy who shot Steve Scalise in the ass was like a Bernie Sanders guy, you know? It's like, bro, Bernie Sanders is not running a campaign of fucking killing Steven Scalise in the same way that Matt Walsh is literally running a campaign of killing trans people, okay? The one incident that you pointed to is literally like not even anywhere near comparable, okay? The left gets like 1 out of 900 examples, and Ben's like, wow, that's really fucked up that they did that. And even then, it's like, then you get into the philosophical argument about violence in general, which I briefly alluded to earlier on the fucking broadcast. Institutional violence is seen as appropriate, which is why right-wing violence that usually is built on institutional violence rarely ever gets the punishment that left-wing violence, or what is perceived as violence in the hands of the left, is seen as. Right-wing police forces can fucking unleash tear gas on a crowd of protesters, but it's considered violent when the left-wing protesters kick the tear gas back. That's when violence breaks out. That's the dichotomy. That is how violence works. It's about how you perceive it, what is appropriate. Because ultimately, politics is about violence. Who gets to do it? Politics is about the distribution of resources, power, and violence. Who gets to distribute the violence? Who gets to dole out the violence? Who is on the receiving end of violence? And how we all perceive it to be just and justifiable. That's what politics is. And the thing is, like, these guys are advocating for fucking more violence from the state all the goddamn time. They complain and cry when the state is not enacting more structural forms of violence towards marginalized groups that they've declared their enemies. But ultimately, they're so successful across the board. They're so fucking successful across the board with that kind of violence that the state is subjecting you to on a regular fucking basis. Okay? Structural forms of violence like poverty. Okay? Paywalling insulin is a violent behavior, is a violent activity. Some of the most vile, evil villains would only come up with a thing like that. Okay? Saying you can't pay for your fucking medical treatment. If you don't have money, sorry, you're going to fucking die. That's violence. It's structural, though. So it's different. You're conditioned into not seeing that. You're not thinking about it in the same way that you would as like someone punching another person. Anyway.
Ostracized, obviously. But when it comes to the right, then the idea is that if a person who we don't even know what his views are on any of this stuff yet, even if it turns out this person has a manifesto that is wildly, horrifically anti-gay, for example, does that mean that everybody who believes that same-sex marriage is wrong?
Yes. Yes, they're morally culpable. Yes. You are normalizing it. Yes, you more than like the random fucking dumbass grandma in Kentucky, though, obviously. I'm not saying that like the random dumbass grandma in Kentucky is responsible for this kind of anti-LGBT violence, but you are, because you use your platform to legitimize that kind of attitude. You literally try to arm people with talking points so they can be the most annoying shitheads in every fucking group.
Societally approved same-sex marriage is wrong. Does that mean everybody is now guilty for a person who goes and shoots up a
No, but you are, because your goal is to create more people like this fucking shooter. That's the ultimate goal. Your goal isn't to like what I want to ask what Ben's point is. Like when he talks about like all this like gay shit, okay? When he's literally at the cutting edge of like whatever the fuck trans people are doing, okay? Because Ben knows he's literally watching like a goddamn hawk, okay? I don't know what the fuck's happening in the trans world. Trans people don't know what the fuck's happening in the trans world. Ben knows, though, because he's watching like a fucking hawk, so we can cut videos about how, ooh, this is what the trans are doing now. The big trans industry, what are they up to, okay? Monitoring this shit like a fucking hawk. Why does he do that? What is the reason? That he's just obsessed? Is it because he likes, trans porn and can't come to terms with that and thinks that that's somehow like gay or indecent? You know what I mean? Is that what it is? I don't know. Or maybe he wants other people to also fucking be vicious and violent towards trans people and gay people in general. And that's why he wants other people to be like him. I am very open about my biases, okay? I am very open about wanting to change your mind. I am very open about how I want to design a society. What kind of society I want to live in. Okay, that's the difference between me and Ben. Because I'm not cowardly. I don't think that I have to hide it because I know that I'm correct. Ben, on the other hand, will routinely fucking complain about censorship when in fact, what he's actually upset about is the reality that history has a slant towards progress, okay? It might take a while, but ultimately people come to terms with understanding one another and being more empathetic to one another because that's how society is run. It's not individualistic. It's not as hyper-individualistic as these capitalist dickheads claim it is, okay? Collectivism is also one of the building blocks of society, if not the most fundamentally important building block of society. And if you want to collectively engage with one another, if you want collectivism to happen, then yes, there's going to need to be a level of empathy and understanding. Okay? And that's why when we get together and fucking live in cities and shit, and we have this like yearning for understanding one another, people end up becoming more tolerant towards those who look different than them, those who sound different than them, those who want to do different shit than them. Okay? Ben hates that. When Ben complains about censorship, he's actually complaining not about censorship, but he's complaining about motherfuckers saying like, dude, you're wrong. Like, he hates that he can't openly state that like the society that he would design for a better future is one that is just, Judeo-Christian, he would say, that is overwhelmingly white and no gay people. I don't have those fears. When I talk about how I want to see a future, I don't have the fears that Ben has. I can openly and earnestly make an argument for why things would be better if my perspective and the things that I believe in, that I truly believe other humans are also conditioned into believing as well, were to happen, were to take place. We would be better off. Ben can't openly state that, though, because his future dystopia, which we kind of already live in, is brutal, oppressive, awful for those who do not subscribe to the norm.
Nightclub. This sort of game is really ugly. It's really hideous. And again, it is only played by one side of the political aisle. I've been saying for my entire career, as far as I'm aware, that when you have an act of violence and the person who commits that act of violence is a whack job who is misinterpreting the words of...
Dog, every person that does acts of violence like this are whack jobs. Like, it doesn't matter. That doesn't...
A movement or a politician, that person is not reflective of the movement or politician. When a Black Lives Matter fellow traveler murders Dallas police officers in 2015, that is not the fault of Barack Obama. It's actually not even the fault of Black Lives Matter. When a Bernie Sanders supporter shoots up a congressional baseball game, that's not the fault of Bernie Sanders. And yet the entire left-wing media infrastructure and Democratic Party will immediately shift into, if you don't support every element of our radical social agenda, then you are responsible for murder. It's an ugly, stupid game that is directed specifically at silencing people who disagree with you.
I love that. Pre-watched, by the way. I know. He had to come up with like the 2 times where you could like point to the left. You know what I mean? That's awesome. Meanwhile, El Paso happened under Trump. Fucking the Buffalo grocery store was shot up not that long ago. There are so many examples of like right-wing terror, right-wing anti-Semitic terror, right-wing anti-black terror. Okay? That's great. Also, the main difference is Bernie Sanders is not running around saying you should shoot Stephen Scalise. But Matt Walsh is, okay? Matt Walsh is like very clearly stating that like your targets should be not only just like trans people, but also even institutions that serve trans people, like children's hospitals. Wrong as it may be, it's still a creative turnaround for Ben, though. No, man, it's not even a creative one. It's not a unique one. He does it all the time. Also, you know who else used to do it? Fucking fascists. Our enemy is both strong and weak, okay? Our enemy is cowardly and weak, liberals. Our enemy is also very strong. They control everything. Liberal media. It's not new at all. It's like me fucking talking about the top of the hour ad break. Like I say it every fucking hour. At the top of the hour, there's a 6-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. Which you can do for $5 or for free. That is another form of unjustifiable state violence. The HasanAbi state is enforcing a 60-second ad break on you, but you can defend yourself against it. Vias, thank you for the 5 get the subs. Speed Racer, thank you for the 5 get the subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see the top of the hour ad break. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. Matt Walsh, Tucker Carlson, Shia Raichik, the psychotic, unhinged weirdo that runs the Libs of TikTok account, Shia Raichik. Okay? These are people who are in the exact same way responsible for all the anti-trans and anti-gay violence that happens in this fucking country, in the same way that Rush Limbaugh, or not Rush Limbaugh, fucking Bill O'Reilly was responsible for the doctor that performed abortions, Tiller, the baby killer. That's what Bill O'Reilly called him over and over again. And then one of his fucking psychotic fans went and shot and murdered him. It's the same shit. Shia is pronounced like you're making a loogie. Oh, Chaya Raychick. Am I saying it right? I don't know. Chris Rufo as well. Where the fuck is Ben? Here, let's finish this out.
And you're seeing the media do this immediately. So the idea here is that this is tied to a broader movement. And you again see this over and over again from the left. So Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez being irrepressibly foolish. She had a series of tweets on this. So Lauren Boebert, who represents this area, she tweeted out, "The news out of Colorado Springs is absolutely awful. This morning, the victims and their families are in my prayers. The lawless violence needs to end and end quickly," which is a fine statement. There's nothing wrong with that statement. AOC immediately tweeted, "Lauren Boebert, you have played a major role in elevating anti-LGBT plus hate rhetoric and anti-trans lies while spending your time in Congress blocking even the most common sense gun safety laws. You don't get to thoughts and prayers your way out of this. Look inward and change. Unless you reflect the progressive ideology of AOC, you are responsible for murder."
I mean, yeah, she's not even just saying that your anti-LGBT rhetoric is like commonly shared by this fucking dickhead in Colorado, most likely, who went and killed gay and trans people in a fucking gay nightclub. But also, you're giving them the tools to be able to commit such unjustifiable acts of violence by routinely allowing guns to be fucking flooded in the marketplace. And psychos like that, even if they are unique, okay, even if this is a once-in-a-lifetime type of fucking sicko, okay, even if this is a once-in-a-lifetime sicko, why make it so easy for that person to be able to get a fucking gun and use it when they snap?
So again, if you say that boys are boys and girls are girls, and if you say that we should not surgically mutilate 16-year-old girls who wrongly believe they are boys, this means that you are complicit in a person who had a history of threatening his own mother with a bomb, shooting a bunch of gay people in a nightclub in Colorado Springs. This is the take from AOC. And then she broadened this out. She said, "After Trump elevated anti-immigrant and anti-Latino rhetoric, we had the deadliest anti-Latino shooting in modern history."
That's true. That literally happened. Yeah, El Paso. That happened. The shooter straight up said, "I am traveling to El Paso to kill as many Mexicans as I can." Totally fucking, we cast that aside for some weird reason. Like, that guy drove for hours, okay, across the state of Texas to go kill as many fucking Mexicans as he could. He said, El Paso is where they are. I'm going to go there to a Walmart and I'm going to shoot it up. We just brushed that aside.
After anti-Asian hate with COVID, Atlanta, Tree of Life, Emmanuel AME, Buffalo, and now after an LGBT plus campaign, anti-LGBT plus campaign, Colorado Springs. Connect the dots, GOP. Well, the problem is that those dots don't connect. I mean, first of all, the quote-unquote anti-Asian hate attack in Atlanta.
Why did he pass El Paso? Wait, Ben, why did you wait? Why did Ben just jump over? Why did he skip over the biggest anti-Latino crime, hate crime committed on U.S. soil in recent years? Why didn't he fucking mention that? Maybe he will.
Atlanta was directed against sex workers, right? That's what it was.
That makes it okay. You're right, because sex workers actually are super promoted and super protected. So that's, unless he's trying to say Unless he's trying to say that it's okay that it was towards sex workers, because that's really interesting.
And when she suggests that Emmanuel AME is the fault of Donald Trump, which is what she's suggesting there, Emmanuel AME happened, I checked the date, the day after Donald Trump announced for the presidency. He was not like there's no relationship there. When it comes to the Buffalo.
What? Bro, she didn't just say Donald Trump. She said GOP. Is Donald Trump responsible for the singular? Is Donald Trump responsible for racism in the Republican Party? Is that what you're saying? What the fuck?
The Buffalo shooter in his manifesto.
Why is Ben not bringing up El Paso? Why did he skip over El Paso? Why did he skip over El Paso? Oh, I can't wait to see what he's going to say about the Buffalo shooter, who literally was like, I'm looking for black people, identically to the El Paso shooter, by the way.
Actively dissociates from Trump. If we're going to talk about anti-LGBT...
Wait, dog, are you fucking joking? Talk about the synagogue shooting. He was on Gab, free speech platform, openly stating that the only reason why he didn't like Donald Trump any longer was because he was capitulating to the fucking Jews. That's what he said. He was just more right-wing than Trump. Trump wasn't right-wing enough. Same with the fucking Buffalo kid. These guys literally were like, no, we like Trump. We just, wish he was more brutal and more violent. Kind of like you, Ben. You sometimes say that too, No different. So why hasn't he brought up the El Paso thing? And also, another quick question I have for Ben Shapiro. Don't you hate anti-Semitism? You literally talk about anti-Semitism regularly as an Orthodox Jewish man. Why is it so bad? If people are just routinely anti-Semitic and then some anti-Semitic violence happens, you can kind of connect the dots between the two things, right? If you have the skills in comprehending that letting anti-Semitic rhetoric fester in mainstream media could, create anti-Semitic violence, then you should probably understand that, the exact same thing can happen to Latino people and black people and gay and trans people. Interesting, though. He doesn't hate anti-Semitism. He hates anti-Zionism. That's true. He has literally defended anti-Semites regularly.
LGBT rhetoric and attacks.
He'd say violence is bad in all scenarios. He's consistent on that. No, he's not consistent on that. I already talked about it. He only thinks individual acts of violence are bad. He does not actually, even individual acts of violence when it's like being done in Israel, that's not bad either. But he loves state acts of violence. He loves institutionalizing and codifying that violence. So it's like seen as the norm. That's like 80% of his fucking entire agenda.
Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting was not connected with quote unquote right-wing rhetoric. It was connected with a person who appeared to be a radical Muslim.
Yeah, no, it was. That is right-wing. Being a fundamentalist Muslim is right-wing, Ben. That is literally what that is. What the fuck? Yo, Ben literally is like, Ben's like radical Islam, famously left-wing. Fundamentalist Muslims are famously left-wing. They love gay people and trans people and women. Like ISIS. Bro, so much of this revolves around how Ben unironically just thinks and openly says that, if you're not white, then you have no capacity to be a good Christian person. You know what I mean? Like if white people are preaching the exact same shit that like someone at ISIS is preaching or someone at Taliban is preaching, they're good, Taliban bad. That's it. It's like, bro, you literally defend white evangelicals. They are the ISIS inside of our country, okay? Inside of our borders.
Like the only dots that connect here are that law enforcement has all of these people on their screen and they miss every single one of them. That's the dot that apparently needs to be connected. But again, the idea here from AOC and company is always and forever that if something terrible happens.
Wait, by the way, he literally just skipped El Paso. He definitely didn't turn around and talk about El Paso. I wonder why Ben skipped El Paso. I wonder if it had something to do with the fact that like the El Paso shooter straight up was like, I'm doing this because I want to kill as many brown people as I possibly can. Why don't we ever talk about El Paso? "19 minutes before the first 911 call alerted the authorities to a mass shooting in Walmart in El Paso. A hate-filled anti-immigrant manifesto appeared online. It spoke of a Hispanic invasion of Texas. It detailed a plan to separate America into territories